All right, everybody, how's it going? Hey, it's Matthew chapter 24, part 3, and I'm going to try to be a little bit faster than I was for part 2, because I know this is taking up a lot of your time, as well as it's taking up mine. I'm trying to make it a lot faster, but if I have to read verses, it just goes very quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read a bunch of verses. I'm just going to give you the verses that I'm referring to, and I'm going to sum up what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so let's start off in Daniel chapter 9, verses 25 through 27. Like I said, I'm not reading them, I'm going to sum them up. Well, Daniel says, and I quote, 62 weeks. So this was prophesied 600 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. This is called prophecy, and Jesus Christ lived according to these words of this book. So in Matthew chapter 16, verse 21, he tells Peter, James, and John that he will be killed. He knows he's going to be cut off. In Matthew chapter 21, verses 4 through 9, he comes riding into Jerusalem on the back of a colt, right? This was prophesied in Zechariah chapter 9, so this is a fulfillment of prophecy. Then in chapter 23, he tells these Jews, not one stone shall be left upon another. Then we get to Matthew chapter 24, right? So what was next after those 62 weeks? Well, it was the confirmation of the covenant, those 7 years. Remember that in Daniel, that in the midst of the week, the Antichrist will desecrate the temple, right? So that's a halfway point through the 7-year tribulation, that 3.5-year mark. So in verse 9, he says, and I quote, and I'm talking about Matthew chapter 24 right here, then shall they deliver you. So Jesus is talking about the 5th seal in the book of Revelation. This will unleash a persecution on this nation that will make the Holocaust look like an elementary school field day. And I can promise you that. You think the Holocaust was bad? This is going to be 100 times worse. These Jews ain't seen nothing yet. So right here I got read verses 10 through 13. Okay, so just what I'm talking about, I'm just going to read them real quick. I said I wasn't going to, but I'm going to read these verses. All right, sorry, I had to turn on the car. My light shut off on me. All right, verses 10 to 13. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So the focus on he that shall endure, right? Endure through what? They must endure through the entire tribulation, right? These people who aren't saved today are going to have a bad time because they're going into Daniel's 70th week if we're raptured up out of here. The believers are going to be raptured up, and those who are lost are going to be left behind. It's just as simple as that. So verse 16 is clearly explaining what Jesus says in Luke chapter 21, verses 20 through 21 as well. And I'll just give you I'll just give you one quote from that. Them which are in Judea fled into the mountains, right? Does this say them which are in America or in the state of Alabama or West Virginia or California or Virginia or Georgia? No, it doesn't say that, because you are not a Jew and Jesus wasn't talking to you. So in verses 14 to 16, verse 14 is about the first 3.5 years, and I'm not going to read them just for sake of time. And verse 15 clearly explains what Daniel is talking about in Daniel chapter 8, verses 9 through 12. In Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 27, and then in chapter 11, verse 31. And verse 16 is clearly explaining what Jesus says. Dang on, already read that. Oh, what Jesus says in Luke chapter 21, verses 20 and 21. Chapter 21, verses 20 and 21 as well, right? Just for sake of time, I'm not going to read verses 17 through 21. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read these verses. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So that's that last 3.5 years, right? That great tribulations, last 42 months. Verses 22 through 28, I'm not going to read them, but this is Jesus telling them, do not be deceived, it is not me. And then verse 29, I'll read that. So skipping on down to verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Right? Okay. So that is exactly what Jesus is talking about right there, is Revelation chapter 6. Right? This is the sixth seal being opened. So at the end of the last 1260 days, Christ will show the signs prior to the second coming. And then in Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 through 10, I got to read those real quick. Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 through 10. I'm only going to read those. Revelation 14, verses 9 through 10. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive the mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Yep. Okay. So that clearly tells you what's going to happen to those who receive the mark, right? The mark of the beast. Now we'll take a look at chapter 15. In verse 1, it tells us exactly what's going to happen at the very end of the tribulation. God will pour out his wrath against those people that persecute the Jews during the tribulation, right? And then verses 2 and 3. Let me flip on over. Verses 2 and 3, Revelation chapter 15. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and to them that had gotten into victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. Verse 3, and they sing the song of Moses, servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Right? Okay. So where can we find the song of Moses? Well, if you flip over to Deuteronomy, just for sake of time, I'm not going to read it. Deuteronomy chapter 32. That's where God taught this song to Israel, specifically for the tribulation period. Right? And I'm not going to read it, but read verses 28 through 46 in that chapter. But just for sake of time, I'm not going to read it. Verse 30 is the second coming of Jesus Christ. And then in verse 31, who's the elect? In Matthew 24. And what does elect mean? Well, election in the Bible is God choosing according to his own will to fulfill his purpose, right? Election simply means choice. God's choice, that is. God's choice to fulfill his purpose in Christ. And that's Ephesians chapter 1, verses 9 and 10. God's elect in Matthew 24 is clearly Israel. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 4, chapter 65, verse 9. They are God's servants. You can find that also in Leviticus chapter 25, verse 55. And the scattered strangers of the nation of Israel, called the little flock. And you can find that in 1 Peter 1, 2 and 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 10. This is clearly why he will gather them from the four winds, because they are scattered. Verse 32 is the parable of the fig tree. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 33, notice the it is near. Just for sake of time, I'm not going to read it. You guys can go back and read it. I'm just summing it up for you. Verse 34 is those people who see this start will see it all, right? For the sake of time, you can read the remainder of this chapter, which is Jesus referring to his second coming. You talking about Jesus destroying all nations' armies? It's going to be horrible. That great and terrible day. What does that mean? What does that great and terrible day mean? It's a great day and it's a terrible day at the same time. It's a great day that Jesus Christ has come during his second coming, but it's going to be a terrible day for those people that he's about to destroy. When Jesus comes, he will stand on the Mount of Olives, and these armies of the Antichrist are going to take off. Jesus is going to destroy these people, all of them, every single one of them. Let's take a look at Joel chapter 2, verse 20. Just for sake of time, I'm not going to go over there and read it, but go read it. And then flip over to Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 through 5. So to sum it up, this is all nations, right? So God's fury is upon all armies. That word all, that means every single person on this earth. Verse 3 is referring to Joel chapter 2, verse 20. I'm talking about Isaiah chapter 34 there, right? And then verse 4 is referring to James chapter 1, verses 9 through 10. And then verse 5 is referring to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Now, that's all referring to Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 through 5. Now, if you take a look at verses 6 through 7 of Isaiah chapter 34, same chapter, the blood of these people will be to the horse's bridle for 200 miles, right? Those saints will ride and dip their feet in the blood of the wicked. Once this is finished, Christ will sit upon the throne of his glory in Matthew chapter 25, verse 31. All nations will be gathered, and he will separate them, the sheep nations from the goat nations, and his sheep will go into the kingdom. The nations that cursed Israel will be cursed, and those that bless the nation will be blessed. At the end of his judgment will be the 1,335th day. The first resurrection will take place, and the Old Testament saints will be raised. 995 days after that, the millennial temple will be complete. Psalm 99 says Jesus will sit between the cherubims, the holiest of the holies, and Aaron and Moses will be two of his priests. And that's found in verses 6 through 9 of Psalm 99. This is great information to know, an outstanding learning experience for me of Matthew chapter 24, right? All of the Bible is beneficial for our learning. This is why it is imperative for us to rightly divide the word of truth. Because if you don't, you'll be easily tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine, just as Paul says. So please understand that Matthew chapter 24 has absolutely nothing to do with the body of Christ at all. Therefore, you simply can't find our gathering together, our blessed hope, in this chapter. Period. It's not found. It was still a mystery hid in God. So grace and peace, brothers and sisters. Hopefully you got something out of this. And please leave me some comments and some thumbs up. All right, grace and peace to you.